Here we go.
Play with the devil, die with the devil.
Nerd alert, nerd alert, nerd alert.
Rock Candy exclusive.
In 1991, he started on ABC's Dinosaurs as the body of Earl Sinclair. He then went on to create new Muppet characters such as Pepe the King Prawn, Bobo Bear, and of course the greatest crooner of all time, Johnny Fiamma. After the passing of Jim Henson, he assumed the roles of Dr. Teeth, Rolf the Dog, Mana Mana, and the Swedish Chef. He is a producer, a director, an executive producer, a writer, a performer, a voice talent extraordinaire. He just finished a very successful season on ABC's The Muppets, and well, he's my pal. Please welcome Bill Barretta. Bill, how are you? How are you today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for doing an interview with us. You're our exclusive. I nailed the exclusive interview, Ange.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Let's get it going.
All right. So, Bill, before we
wait. Who was that?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're Rock Candy. I'm Rocco, and he's Andy.
Hey, Andy.
Nice to meet you, Bill.
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Better than I deserve, believe it or not.
So I just gave you an amazing intro, and besides all the things I said in the intro, I just want to say Bill and his family are probably the most generous, humble, amazing, kind-hearted people that I've ever known. So
Well, do go on.
Yes.
hey, that's my line.
Cue the violin music. Thank you.
So
Well, thanks, buddy. Thank you.
oh, well. Anyway, I'm probably gonna fawn here, Ange. So take over at any moment.
Get it together. Come on, Rocco. You're a radio professional. You've been at this 6 weeks now.
Okay, so can we
Just picture that I'm naked. You know.
Okay, hold on. Wow.
You know when you're supposed to picture people in their underwear naked in the audience.
No, we're doing the Iggy Pop story later, and that's enough naked for one radio
Oh,
show.
all right. Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah.
So, if we could start, I want to start from the beginning. All the information I received, by the way, is from the Wikipedia page. So, just in case, so
sorry.
edit as we go.
Please, no.
But so
Should have called my brother. It's been a lot easier.
Nothing but a crack research team.
So, 1991, you joined the cast of Dinosaurs, and
He probably knows that.
so how
I
did
think I did.
I know? Gosh, I'm so nervous. Right? Okay, one more time.
Keep going, man.
So how did it happen from the beginning? Like, how did you end up joining the Muppets?
Joining the Muppets or getting involved with Henson? Well, it's kind of the same thing in a way because I grew up back east in Pennsylvania, and I was going to school in New York, and I always wanted to be an actor. It was something that actually came out of my brother, he's 4 years older than me. He was the guy that always kind of planned what we were going to do with our lives every weekend as kids. And whether it was making movies or doing a clay animation or writing to Jim Henson, he wrote to Jim when we were kids to find out how to make a Muppet. And Jim sent us instructions back.
Wow.
And so we did that for a little while. You know, I'd say maybe it was like a year total where we were just building puppets. And our aunt, who is a teacher for deaf-mute children, we would go to the school and we would do shows for them with our puppets. And we would do family shows and things like that. So I never thought I would be involved with puppets at all, but I was always interested in acting and performing.
That's amazing. I've never heard that. So
oh yeah,
that's the stuff you don't get on Wikipedia, baby.
So Gene, my brother, really is the person who's probably the most responsible for me wanting to be an actor because he was always behind the camera or directing or creating whatever we were going to do, and then he would just put me in it, you know, and he'd say, all right, you jump off of that roof while I'm filming. And I go, okay, and I jump off the roof.
Wow.
And so I was always in front of the camera. So as years went by, this is turning into too long of a story, but I was studying to be an actor. I was living in New York. I got tired of living like in the subways and in the shadows, and I moved to California. and I auditioned for Dinosaurs as a suit performer because I was an actor. I'd never, I wasn't going to audition as a puppeteer.
Wow.
And so I ended up getting the role of the dad being inside the costume because I was studying the Meisner technique. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but I actually got to study with Sanford Meisner the last few years of his life.
Wow.
And it was all about behavior. That's the thing. It's like the doing. It's not about the dialogue. It's about what you're doing. So in my mind, I was like, oh, yeah, being inside of the suit, it's all about behavior. I'm not going to have to do the lines. I'm interpreting all of the dialogue through behavior. So I was doing that, and of course, it was a Henson and a Disney project. It was a collaboration between the two companies. And some of the Muppet performers worked on Dinosaurs as well, and I got to know them, and we became friends. And a little, when I wasn't inside of Earl, the dad on the show, I would every once in a while try my hand at a background character or assist someone. And when the show ended, I just ended up playing a little bit with puppets a little more, and I was playing at home, trying to kind of, get down this idea of working with a camera and how everything's reversed. And
wow.
And then I think, I was asked to do some other things. There were some other Muppet projects that came up right after Dinosaurs ended, and I helped out on those. And then they were going to do, that's what it was, Muppet Treasure Island. And that was my first, kind of big role with the Muppet. I got to do, a character that was a supporting character, but he was in the entire film, and I got to do other characters as well. But that was my first big thing, and from there I just kept doing more characters, and I ended up being able to do some of the characters that Jim did. For whatever reason, those kind of worked, and I was able to get close to that voice. But sorry, this is a really long answer.
Well, let me ask you, when you were growing up, so you and your brother watched the Muppets?
Well, yeah. I mean, I wasn't a fan kind of thing. When the Muppets were on, I was, how old? I don't know, in my teens. So even though we were both interested in film and being in the industry, we loved watching the Muppets. It wasn't a ritual for us, but we knew how amazing it was and what a great show it was, and watched it whenever we could, But it wasn't we were diehard fans or anything.
Wow. So on your, let's say your first day on the job on Muppet Treasure Island, do you remember what it was like? Were you starstruck? So you didn't care about any of the other performers, really? Were you just making your own way?
Well, I knew of them, because of Dinosaurs. I got to know, I became good friends with Dave Goelz and Steve Whitmire and Kevin Clash, Frank. I got to know Frank Oz more after Dinosaurs, even though he would visit the set. He didn't work on it.
Yeah.
So I gradually started to become friends with kind of the core performers, and also the other Muppet performers that were around. But I think the most exciting part for me was that I was going to England, because we made the movie in England.
Yeah.
And that Tim Curry was going to be in it.
Wow.
So I was just so excited about that. That was probably the highlight for me. But then also being able to work with Brian, who was going to be directing it, Brian Henson. He and I have been friends for many years, and so I was very excited just to be doing that as well. So for me, it wasn't about, I think, as much doing the character, but being on a movie set and actually making a movie, and being in England and having my soon-to-be wife with me at the time. And it was just, it was an amazing experience, I don't remember the first day, but
yeah.
They all felt like first days, I guess, at that time.
How close were you to Jim Henson? Did you guys meet and talk to each other a lot?
No, not very. I met him a couple times, and once was when I was working at an amusement park called Sesame Place in Langhorne, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
He happened to walk through the gate, and I was working there as an employee, and I ran up to him welcomed him basically to the park. But I know that I was very excited, and I knew that this guy was Jim Henson. And what was amazing was that he was coming through the general admission entrance. I thought that was really cool.
Wow.
He didn't come through the back door or something, or the special way. He just came in like everybody else. And then years later, I met him a few times at his apartment in New York because I was friends with Brian, and so we met that way. But I never got to work with him.
Yeah.
Never got to work with him.
Well, not to put any pressure on you or anything, but
that's what we do. Put pressure on the man. Now let's take the gloves off. Really get him. You've got him softened up, Rocco. Go for it, man.
Yeah.
Right for the throat.
Pressure.
It's like you're carrying on his legacy. So, do you ever feel that pressure? Like, do you ever feel he's like watching what you're doing and kind of would approve and that kind of thing, or
pulling your strings, as it were?
Well, I think when I first started doing some of his characters, like I knew that Rolf was very important to the family, and that's, if someone were going to be doing that it had to be someone that I guess they trusted, that kind of got it, and I hope that's what I've done with him.
Yeah,
it's hard to do somebody else's character, and I think I don't think I think about it as much.
Yeah.
Although I know it's always there. But, to try and do somebody else's character, people first think it's about a voice, but that's really secondary to the character, because the character has to come from that person. It's a part of you no matter what you do. That character, it comes out of that person. So is what I believe anyway, whether maybe people disagree. But I could never be this Swedish Chef, and I could never be Rolf the dog, and I could never be Dr. Teeth. But I think I have a sense of Jim.
Yeah.
Only if not, certainly not because I only met him a few times, but because I think I have an understanding of him through the other performers. And after 25 years, you get to hear the stories, and you know the family, and you start to get a sense of who this guy was. And so I have that I kind of carry with me, and somewhere in the back of my brain somewhere, and my heart. And then you watch the characters and what he did with them, and you try to follow those rhythms and those kind of what you feel that perspective of that character is as best you can.
Yeah.
And then over time, I think then there's a part of you that has to become a part of that character. Otherwise, it's not true. It's just an impersonation. So I think you have to slowly infuse a part of yourself in there eventually, Yeah. With hopefully not doing anything to damage the integrity of that character and what it was and what people love about it. So
wow.
I don't know. I hope that it's okay with him.
I'm sure. I mean, we watched.
I don't know.
Yeah, speaking of character development, when you arrived on the scene, like Muppets from Space and Muppets Tonight, you brought forth 3 really big new characters. Was that? I'm speaking, of course, of Pepe, Bobo, and the greatest character of all time, Johnny Fiamma. When you brought those forth, I guess, was it a struggle to get your characters kind of part of the family, or how does it work to introduce new Muppets, I guess?
Well, those guys came out of a workshop that we did in England after we finished shooting Muppet Treasure Island. So, excuse me. So we were just. I guess Brian and Frank knew that, they wanted to try and find some new characters in addition to, obviously, the characters that were going to be on the new show. And so they thought, well, the best way is just to, let's just get a rack of puppets and put a camera up, and we'll all just play and see what comes out of it.
Wow.
And so, over the years, because I was drawn more to acting, there were certain characters that I already was either doing as myself or that I've been playing around with just, somewhere in the back of my head. And I just I started to try those with puppets, and I guess a few of them, caught on. And fortunately, I was able to bounce. We would kind of team up, and you could bounce off with each other. So with the support of everybody else, it helps kind of lift these characters, and they, what I mean. Things start to click, and there isn't really a plan. But if something starts to grow, and people start to feed on that, and and so I guess Pepe came out of that, and Johnny Fiamma was basically my father and my grandfather, and I would do them. That was kind of where that character came from.
That's great.
So yeah, it was about playing and just playing around and seeing what came out of it, and those few I guess did. Fortunately for me.
Andy here, you've been very generous with your time, but I just want to get a sense for something. I get the sense that you're very goal-driven from what you said about your early years and all the stuff you're involved in now. What's next? What's on the agenda for the future, 5 years down the road?
Well, I mean, I have a couple things that I would love to be doing as far as I have a huge passion for Louis Prima. And I co-wrote a script, a film script, a play, and I have a kind of an idea for a series about the life of Louis Prima, but told through the eyes of his drummer and kind of sidekick, right-hand man, a guy named Jimmy Vincent. And through his stories, they're just amazing stories. There's just this fun, wild life about Louis Prima and the music, and I've always wanted to play him. So that's something that I really want to do, is to get that going. I also have a film that I've written, an independent film that I want to shoot hopefully next year, that I wrote, and I would want to direct it. And I want to pursue, so I have some other things that aren't necessarily Muppet related, but they are puppets. So I have those that I'm trying to do. So 5 years from now, I don't know, but hopefully down the road a bit, I'll be kind of producing my own things outside of Muppets and directing and performing as myself.
Well, I remember being on the set of we were Casey and I don't know if you remember Casey. It was James's assistant. We went to the premiere party.
I love Casey.
Yeah,
what do you mean? Do I remember her?
She's
like Meryl Streep, but taller.
Well, her job, I think, was to put me in the car and take me to Dancing with the Stars, because I think I had partied too much with the Muppets premiere party. But I remember watching you work on Dancing with the Stars. First of all, Ange, I've never seen Muppets do the things. I mean, when they're between takes is the greatest moments, because I've never seen a Muppet dance so well as when Kermit breaks it down between segments. But I watched you kind of direct, and to watch you is amazing. So I know you're really good at it. I hope we hope the best for you, of course.
Thank you.
And
I love it. It's fun. It's really fun, especially like when you get to direct with the Muppets, because you're also doing a character as well, but you're right in it. A lot of times directors are back off away from what's happening. There's a distance that happens, even though you can hear with headphones and all that sort of thing. But there's something about being in it, when you're right in there and you're working off of the other actors and the crew. And I just love that. I love that feeling of just a collaborative, effort that's happening when you're directing. It's awesome.
Well, to wrap it up, let me ask you this. What's been your, over the years, like, give us your kind of favorite moments, I guess. Did you ever get starstruck? Do the stars ever get starstruck meeting you guys? I mean,
it's interesting. Well, you know what? I'll try and keep it really short, but there's one experience that kind of answers both of those questions, I think. So, I grew up, my father was a huge Frank Sinatra fan and that whole era of music, and I loved Tony Bennett. And he came to do Muppets Tonight as a guest. And it came out of the idea that Johnny Fiamma, this character who's basically like my father, my grandfather,
I'm familiar
idolizes
with his work.
Yeah. Johnny idolizes Tony Bennett on this episode of the show, and he's got all kinds of memorabilia, and he's got a can of Rigatoni Bennett, and he's got Tony Bennett action figures, and he's got everything Tony, right?
Yeah.
But his prized possession is this animatronic or animaton. They call it an animaton, but like an animatronic Tony Bennett in a case, kind of like Voltar from Big,
Yeah.
And so we actually got Tony Bennett to come on the show, who was unbelievably sweet. I was just in awe. Like we sat. I'm just going to jump to this thing, but
yeah.
we're doing a read through, and he's sitting next to me, and I'm marking my script. I take a highlighter and I mark my lines for read throughs just so I can make sure that I'm not missing something as we go through. And he's looking over my shoulder and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm just marking." He goes, "Hey, you do good. You do real good." So I said, "Oh, do you want me to do yours?" He was like, "Oh, that'd be beautiful. I love that." So I start marking his script, and he's watching me and go, "Oh, you do good." So finally, we're going to shoot this scene where I go up to this animatronic Tony booth because I'm going to show Clifford, this other character, how it works. And I stick a quarter in. Johnny sticks a quarter in. And it goes on, and the lights come on, and Tony, who's actually in the case, starts to sing "I Left My Heart in San Francisco." And he's supposed to sing a piece of it, and then Johnny says something like, "How do you like that, Clifford? Ain't that beautiful?" And I couldn't speak, and the tears started coming out of my eyes. I was just crying. I was weeping. I couldn't believe that this guy was here, and he was actually singing, next to me, and that I had this opportunity. I was so fortunate to be able to be in this place at this time.
Wow.
And so that was my kind of I think, biggest moment. But at the same time, later during that week, he was there for 2 days. He had a TV, in the trailer, they would have a television outside of the stage so they could see what was happening on the stage. And he came in, and he came up to me, and he said, "Hey, Bill, I want to ask you something." And I said, "Yeah, sure, Tony, what is it?" He said, "Would you sign this for me?" And I looked to see what it is, and I don't know if you guys are aware, but Tony Bennett's an artist as well. He does watercolor, and he can do anything. He can draw, charcoal, whatever. Wow. He drew Johnny Fiamma and Sal, Johnny's sidekick, Monkey. He drew these pencil drawings of them on his notepad, and he asked me to sign it.
Wow.
And I thought, and I said, "Me? You want me to? You want me to sign it? What do you mean?" He said, "Oh, I really appreciate it. I think these guys are great." So I signed it, and then he asked Brian to sign it. And a few years later, I saw him at a concert. I went backstage to see him, and I guess he travels with his notepad. And he said, "Hey, I want you to have this." And then he signed it. So then he signed it, and he gave it to me. So I think there was a bit of he was kind of enamored with the characters as well, in a way. I think he had there was something about them that he was enjoyed. And I certainly was overwhelmed by him. But
wow,
it's Well,
I wish we had more time. Because there's so many stories. I remember, of course, I always ask about the Prince stories, and then the Jerry Lewis stuff cracks me up.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I didn't get time to pitch you my big story, the story of Rocco. Yes, it's going to be big. Big people.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
I love that story.
That's a great story. No, Bill, thank you so much. Any final thoughts? I know you just wrapped with the Muppets this season on ABC. Any great moments? What was your favorite moment, I guess, from the season this year?
Oh, jeez. You know what? It's hard to say if there's a favorite moment. I just I loved and it's going to sound really corny, but it's actually very true. We were just really fortunate to have an amazing crew of people working on this show, and there was really a positive energy throughout that was just so exciting and so warming, to be able to go to work and really enjoy it and to really have fun and to really be excited every day to find something new and to look around and watch that everybody's smiling, no matter who it is. You've got the craft services people who are so happy and that, everybody was having just a great time. And I think that's the highlight of it. And hopefully that comes through, and if we get to do another season, my goal is to make sure that all those same people come back because it was really an ideal situation.
All right.
So there you go.
Hey, thanks for taking time for Rock Candy.
Hey, thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
We love you, man.
Keep up the good work.
Awesome. Perfect.
Thank you, bud. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. All right.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
All right, there he goes, Bill Barretta, everybody. Great, right?
Oh, man.
Can you believe we get the big interviews here?
Clean up on aisle 5, man. There's so much drool over here on your side of the desk. And if I hear you say, wow, anymore, man, this dude was starstruck. I just got in the corner with a bag of popcorn and watched Rocco work.
Well, you should see me when I'm around him. I'm just stupid. I'm an idiot. Like I said, I mean, he's the nicest guy in Hollywood. I've never met any big celebrities that are.
Well, that's not a very high bar for Hollywood. I mean, the nicest guy in Hollywood. Look, I have actually heard you'll never work in this town again.
I have too. On one of the
and here you are.
That's funny.
Okay, well, that about wraps this up. We're gonna get on board for Your Wonderful Life coming up right after this.
Later.
Okay, bye.